First, the Zanki archetype is Cyberse. Second, it's math. Hello duelists! Rustmarrow here, and even though it's only been a day since the artwork for the Zanki archetype has been revealed, Konami has already given us an entire showcase of several cards from the archetype, which is what we're going to look at today, and let's start with the monsters. A total of 6 main deck Zanki monsters have been revealed so far, 2 of which are tuners, and then we have another 4 non-tuners, which I like to call the Math Quartet, and you guys will find out why later on. Let's take at the first 2 tuners first. First, we have the key main deck monster Zanki Sigma. You can only use this card name's first effect once per turn. First effect, if you control no monsters in the extra monster zone while this card is in the hand or grave, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. And for the rest of this turn, after this effect is activated, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Cyberse monsters. And yes, as I mentioned just now, this entire deck is Cyberse. Second effect, you can treat this card as a non-tuner monster if this card is used as material for the synchro summon of a Zanki synchro monster. So yes, a lot of you guys speculated yesterday, but Zanki is going to be a synchro deck, actually both a synchro and Xyz deck, as you guys will find out more later. But basically, as a tuner that can be treated as a non-tuner, Sigma is going to be a very versatile and key material card for the synchro summons that you're going to carry out with this deck. And its first effect of course allows you to assemble synchro materials on your field really easily. Next, let's look at Zanki Nabla, which is also a tuner. You can only use each of this card name's effects once per turn. First effect, you contribute 1 Cyberse monster you control and special summon 1 Zanki monster from your deck. Second effect, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Cyberse monster you control in the extra monster zone, and that monster can attack monsters up to twice during each battle phase this turn. So just looking at this card's effects alone, it's quite hard to imagine how useful it's gonna be in this deck, but that's until we take a look at the effects of the Math Quartet. So here we have Zanki Addion, Zanki Subtra, Zanki Multiplier, and Zanki Division. And if you guys haven't noticed, their names are basically inspired from addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, basically plus, minus, times, and divide. And their effects reflect that as well. Zanki Addion, you can only use this card name's effect once per turn. You can target 1 face-up monster on the field, special summon this card from the hand, and if you do, that monster gains 1000 attack until the end of the turn, but this card cannot attack this turn, and for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon monsters from your extra deck except Cyberse monsters. So addition. Subtra basically has the same effect except that it reduces the monster's attack by 1000 instead of adding, so subtraction. Multiplier and division are a bit different, so let's start with multiplier. You can only use each of this card name's effects once per turn. First effect, you can target 1 level 4 Cyberse monster you control. That monster's level becomes 8 until the end of the turn, so basically multiplying its level by 2, which is going to be really important for the high level synchro summons you're going to carry out in this deck. Second effect, if this card is sent to the grave, you can target 1 Cyberse monster you control in the extra monster zone. That monster's current attack is doubled until the end of the turn. As for Zanki Division, you can only use each of this card name's effects once per turn. First effect, you contribute a monster you control in the extra monster zone. Special summon up to 1 level 4 Cyberse monster from your hand and graveyard each. So there we have that sort of division element. Second effect, if this card is sent to the grave, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field and halve that monster's attack until the end of the turn. So looking at the main deck monsters alone, we can see 2 prominent themes. First, Sigma, Addion, and Subtra basically form the trio that helps you to gather materials for you to carry out your extra deck summons, either Synchro Summon or Xyz Summon. And we can see this because they basically have effects that allow them to be special summoned from either the hand or the graveyard, allowing you to basically swarm monsters to use as materials. The second trio, consisting of Nabla, Multiplier, and Division, also have some effects that contribute to Synchro and Xyz summoning, but actually they are more focused on basically helping you to power up the monster that you have specifically in the extra monster zone. So there's this sort of like extra monster zone augmentation. First of all, Nabla makes the monster in your extra monster zone have up to 2 attacks during this turn, whereas Multiplier doubles its attack, and Division reduces the attack of one of the opponent's monsters by half so that, well, basically your monsters have an easier time getting over it. Also, these effects that augment your extra monster zone basically trigger when this trio of monsters is sent to the graveyard. Which is why Nabla actually plays quite an important role, because if you guys remember, its first effect is you contribute 1 Cyberse monster you control, special summon 1 Zanki monster from your deck. So not only is this a search for a specific Zanki monster that you need, by tributing 1 Zanki monster that you already have on your field, if it's one of this second trio, you'll basically activate its effect which augments the extra monster zone, helping you to power up the Synchro Summon or Xyz Summon monster you have. And that is basically the kind of role it has to play in this deck. Also, just to confirm, sigma and nabla are also terms used in mathematics, so yeah, maths terminology is a recurring theme throughout the entire archetype, not just within the math quartet. Now let's take a look at the extra deck monsters. We are starting with Zanki Magma or Flame Zanki Magma. When I first saw it yesterday, I thought Magma was literally, to sort of give that flame vibe, but it turns out that Magma is a term used in mathematics as well. You guys can look it up if you're interested. It's a level 8, which works well in this deck because all of the main deck monsters are basically level 4, so you basically only need 2 of them in order to summon out this guy. You can only use each of these card names' effects once per turn. First effect, when this card destroys a monster by battle, you can target up to 2 cards your opponent controls, destroy those cards. That is actually quite a powerful destruction effect, I feel. Second effect, if this card is destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effect, you can add 1 Zanki spell or trap from your deck to your hand. It should also be noted that Zanki Magma is a synchro tuner, it's also a tuner, and at level 8, that is why the final synchro boss of this archetype, Final Sigma, which I'm about to show you guys, is actually level 12. So since Magma is a level 8 synchro tuner, you just need 1 of the level 4 main deck monsters in order to bring out your actual boss. Or if you want to reach level 12 in another way, you can make use of the main deck monster multiplier. So multiply one of your other main deck monsters from level 4 to level 8, and then just with 2 monsters, you can make level 12 as well. So this deck is really streamlined in terms of how you synchro out the synchro bosses and makes it really easy to pull them off. Which is probably why all of the main deck monsters have quite low stats. The strongest one has 1500 attack, so you'll really be relying on your extra deck monsters mostly using this deck. Anyway, let's look at Final Sigma. This card name's third effect can only be activated once per turn. First effect, while this card is in the extra monster zone, it is unaffected by the effects of cards except Zanki cards. So once again, just bring in that idea of extra monster zone augmentation. Second effect, double any battle damage inflicted to your opponent due to discard in the extra monster zone, battling an opponent's monster. So extra monster zone augmentation again. Third effect, if this card is destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effect, add 1 Zanki card from your deck to your hand. So basically a slightly stronger version of the same effect that Magma has. Next, we also got an Xyz monster in the form of Zanki Laplacian. So contrary to my predictions, it looks like Zanki is actually not going to be like a full elemental archetype. While the synchro monsters are all fire attribute, here the Xyz one is actually an earth attribute, but it's not exactly, well, its name doesn't mean Earth Zanki. Kai actually loosely translates to like being a lump or a mass of something, which could be earth or rock or stone, but to be more accurate, it means more of like things coming together to form a bigger pile. So I don't know, maybe it could just refer to how it seems to be a combination of Nabla, Multiplier, and Division, like sort of like fusing together to becoming one thing, one pile. So I think that's basically just what the name refers to. You'll need 3 level 4 monsters to Xyz summon Laplacian, so in this sense, I actually think it's slightly harder to summon than Final Sigma. You can only use this card name's first effect once per turn. First effect, if this card is Xyz summoned, you can detach up to 3 Xyz materials from this card and activate the following. Send 1 card from your opponent's hand to the grave, send 1 monster your opponent controls to the grave, and send 1 spell or trap your opponent controls to the grave. So if you do manage to pull off the Xyz summon of this guy, well, he's basically just gonna come on the field, do a nuke, and after that, not gonna be very useful if you choose to use this effect. But the interesting thing about Laplacian is that you can use him both aggressively and defensively. Second effect, if a Zanki card or cards you control will be destroyed, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card instead. So it can serve as a sort of like protective barrier for you. First, we have Zanki Formula. You can only activate 1 card with this name per turn. Target 1 Zanki monster in your grave, special summon it, and if you do, it gains 1000 attack until the end of this turn. So we have a very easy revival card for Zanki. So how I'm imagining this can be used is that, well, if you're low on materials, first of all, you can use it to gather materials from your grave in order to get out of a difficult position by performing either a synchro or Xyz summon, whether you want to go for the aggro with the synchros or a nuke with the Xyz. Next, we have an equipped spell called the Zanki Sword Nayuta. Equipped only to a Cyberse monster, you can only use each of these card names' first and second effects once per turn. First effect, during damage calculation, if the equipped monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send 1 Zanki monster from your deck to the grave. The equipped monster gains attack equal to the sent monsters until the end of the turn. Now, this is a great card for this deck because if you guys remember, the trio consisting of Nabla, Multiplier, and Division, they are the ones that augment the extra monster zone when they're sent to the grave. So basically, you can make use of this first effect of the equipped spell Sword Nayuta when one of your extra deck monsters is attacking, basically you send one of that dark colored trio from your deck to the grave. First, that will give that monster on your field an attack boost, and then later on trigger an augmentation effect from the monster being sent to the grave as well. So that's a really nice combo. Second effect, if this card is sent from the spell and trap zone to the grave, you can target one Zanki card in your grave, except Zanki Sword Nayuta, and add it to your hand. So nice retrieval effect there too. Next, we have a continuous trap Zanki induction. You can only activate one card with this name per turn. First effect, Cyberse monsters you control gain 500 attack, so pretty nice boost. Second effect, if you control a Zanki monster, you can send this face-up card you control to the grave, target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. So just simple induction, nothing too crazy. And finally, we have a trap called Zanki Super Factorial. You can only activate one card with this name per turn. Target up to 3 Zanki monsters with different names in your grave to activate one of these effects. So first, special summon them but their effects are negated, and we do immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon a Zanki synchro monster using only those monsters. If you do this, all materials for that summon are shuffled into the deck instead of being sent to the graveyard. And the second option is special summon them, their effects are negated, and if you do immediately after this effect resolves, Xyz summon one Zanki Xyz monster using only those monsters. So this card is basically going to save you when you're in a pinch, give you an instant synchro or Xyz, whether you want the aggro or the nuke, it's really up to you. On the whole, I find the math theme quite cool, and I guess I was half correct when I guessed yesterday that the archetype might have some effect that basically manipulates the stats, the attack and defense of its monsters. And I like the consistency in the sense that this deck is really engineered to give you like level 8 and level 12 synchros, and basically just focus on that job and do it really well. So I think it'll really be helped by like all of the generic level 8s and level 12s that are currently available in the game as well. But because it's Cyberse, which is a new type, it actually locks a lot of level 8 and level 12 synchro options that require you to use material monsters that are of a specific type. And because Cyberse is so new, basically all of the old cards that we had in the generations of synchro up till the Vrain's arc, all of those that basically specify a type are basically unusable in this deck, which I guess is one downside, because if they had gone ahead and made Zanki machine, it would be applicable with some of them, all of the ones that require machine materials. So yes, a fast aggro deck with decent resource regeneration, even though at a glance I feel like its performance might not be as good as some of the more stronger meta control decks. The appeal of this deck is that if your opponent gives you so much as a single slight opening and you're ready to exploit it, you can basically just end the duel right there and like finish off the control deck before it sets up its ideal field, which you basically will not be able to break through. And that's kind of what I like about it. I'm looking forward to trying it out if I get the chance. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, do give it a like. Let me know what you guys think about the playstyle of this Zanki deck in the comment section down below. And don't forget to subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG videos. And I hope to see you guys in the next Yu-Gi-Oh! video. Let's go and look ahead. Our chance and